Welcome to Snake Cinema Reviews. I'm your host, Prince Elias, and this is Elsa. And today, we are reviewing Euphoria's special episode, part 1, titled Rue. Now, if for those who don't know, Euphoria is a TV show from HBO, streamed on HBOMax, watch on HBO, all that jazz. But it follows a bunch of high schoolers who deal with different problems, but their main character is Rue, played by the fabulous Zendaya. And basically it tells a story of a teenager who's a drug addict who had a very serious overdose, almost died, and is going through AA meetings and basically trying to go through the whole high school thing, falling in love with her best friend, and dealing with the demons of depression, anxiety, and drug abuse. And it's deep and it's triggering. I'm telling you, that show, I recommend that show to everybody because it's good, it's amazing, well acted, well shot, well scripted, and the storylines, the characters, even the characters you hate, you love. You hate them, but you love. But you know what I'm saying? But it's just an amazing show. Great content. I can't wait for season 2. But due to COVID and the pandemic and everything else in between, a lot of people, a lot of studios, TV shows, movies cannot shoot. But they were able to follow guidelines, CDC guidelines, kept it contained with very small minimal crew, because I watched the behind the scenes of this episode because they showed it's also on HBO Max. You get to see the behind the scenes with interviews. So they follow CDC guidelines. They kept the crew down to a very minimum. Like this episode is strictly Rue and her AA sponsor sitting in the coffee shop talking. And it happened right after, spoiler alert, if you're not seen show, spoiler. I'm not going to spoil how it happened, when it happened, what happened, but I will tell you that Rue did relapse. She did. And that was the end season finale of season 1. So this follows the events that happened in season 1. Where she goes to a diner. It takes place on Christmas Eve, and she goes to a diner to talk to her sponsor. And boy, her sponsor ain't taking shit. He ain't taking the bullshit. He ain't taking the lies, because he's been there. He is a drug addict, a recovering drug addict, and he's been there. He's been in her shoes. I think he said like he was in his, I don't know if he's in his 40s or 50s, but he's lived that life, and he told her that. So when she came into the diner, started bullshitting him with all the, oh, I'm doing great, I'm doing wonderful, he read right through her, and he told her about herself. And the entire episode is basically them having a conversation and getting down deep of what Rue's issues are. And man, I'm gonna let y'all know right now, I have been through therapy. For not drugs, but I've been through therapy. I've been through meetings with other people who have mental illness like me, as well as drug addictions, because sometimes they do overlap. Sometimes a depression, anxiety can overlap or trigger or stem, you know, drug abuse, drug usage. And so they overlap. And sometimes when you go to these group meetings, you will have a lot of people who go to AA and a lot of other alcohol, you know, not just alcohol, but drugs anonymous, who are in these meetings with people like me who just suffer from depression, anxiety. And we just tell our stories, share our journeys, and we help each other. We look out for each other, and we have sponsors. And so we have a community, sense of community, a sense of accountability, which is why I love going to these meetings. And so as someone who was a suicide, trigger warning, this topic is going to be deep. As someone who was a suicide survivor, someone who attempted suicide different times, I've been on Rue's side. Mentally, even though Rue is a drug addict and I've never done drugs, I don't know anything about that. I'm a food addict, but I've never dabbled in the drugs, the pills, all that stuff. But the mentality that Rue has, especially in this episode, not only in season 1, but like the codependency and stuff, but also in this particular special episode where she's talking to her sponsor. I've been in Rue's shoes. I've said the things that Rue said. I've had the thoughts, the mentalities, the hopelessness that she had. So this episode was very amazing, but in ways very triggering for me. But I kept watching it. I was not going to let a TV show defeat me and have me to where I could not finish it. So I was like, I'm going to finish this show even though I'm getting emotional and tears are going down my face. But at the life that I'm living now, being in recovery from suicidal ideology, depression, anxiety, I've also been in her sponsors spot mentally. I've been in conversations where I've talked to people from the beginning of their journey and trying to help them out, you know, with their issues, with depression, suicide. I've been on both sides of this table. So hearing their conversation, I'm like, yeah, Rue got a point. But yeah, he got a point. And so it was like the back and forth in the conversations. It was such a wonderful, wonderful, special episode. And it makes me crave season 2 even more. And I can't wait for them to start shooting and the pandemic to be over. But I'm ready for season 2. Now, we're going to get another special episode because this is just part 1. It's Rue's side of the story. So I'm assuming part 2 is going to be the other side of the story. The other characters. My mind is drawing blank. I'm so sorry, y'all. I've been up for very late. So, but yeah, I can't wait for part 2. I don't know when it's going to be out. I haven't looked or checked to see if HBO or Zendaya or the writers and directors announced on their social medias when part 2 is going to be out. But part 1 was amazing. And I love it. But like I said, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. These topics are deep. It talks about drug addiction. It talks about depression. It talks about a lot of deep shit. It talks about codependency, being codependent on people. So if you're someone who can seriously relate to Euphoria or seriously relate to these type of topics, it may be triggering. Like I said, I almost stopped watching. Not because it was boring, not because it wasn't well acted, but because the topic was so deep. The conversations these characters were having was so deep. And I was like, whoo, I'm triggered. But I kept watching. I'm so glad I did. I watched it all the way through, did not stop, and I enjoyed it. It was amazing. 10 out of 10. And I can't wait for part 2, a special episode, and I can't wait for season 2. But this was amazing. This was a blessing. And I believe the writer, director, the man who's the story about, who Rue's character is based on, I believe he said that this particular episode was just going to be a minor scene in season 2, but they expanded and made it bigger, and I'm so glad they did. See, sometimes this pandemic, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise, because I felt like there's no way y'all could have had this scene in one small scene for maybe 10 minutes and then of an episode and then be about your way, 5-10 minutes and be about your way. No, your message would not have been conveyed properly. There's no way. I just can't picture. I can't picture that diner scene where she go talk to her AA and it only lasts for 5 or 10 minutes and then they off to the next and then you go, no. This was meant to be a long, full-length episode, and it was amazing. Please, if you have HBOMax or if you know somebody with a password that you can sneak in, log on, go watch it. Euphoria, special episode, part 1, titled Rue. Go watch it. It was amazing. Even though it's an episode, it was like an hour-long episode, so to me, it's kind of like the length of a movie almost, so because it's an hour long. So go watch it. You will not be disappointed. And if you have not seen season 1, please go watch it. Go watch it. It's an amazing show. Euphoria is an amazing show. Don't believe all the hype that Twitter was doing when it first came out. It was like, ew, high schoolers don't do this. This is unrelatable. This is so unpredictable. This is not for children. No shit, this is not for children. People were complaining online when this first premiered saying this isn't a show for children. Duh. It's on HBO. It's called Euphoria. It's about kids who dabble in drugs and other issues. So yeah, and I'm sorry, but I don't know about y'all privileged lives, but I know some kids like these characters in my high school days. So it happens. It does happen in reality. You do have some drug addicts. You do have some sex addicts. You do have people who deal with sexuality and gender issues. This stuff is real. You have people who are depressed. It's real. So please stop with the bullshit. Don't believe that controversy, quote unquote controversy, that happened when season 1 premiered. Go watch it. If you have not seen it, go watch it. It is amazing. Anyways, I'm off my soapbox. I am Prince Elias. This is Elsa, and we will check y'all on the next video. Peace.